Howdy, 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 friendos. It's Lainey here, SoCal Fat Chick, back with my first live reaction to a video. I had a few technical difficulties, so I had to cut it short a little too harshly. But yeah, let's roll that whale song and get to it. Everything on this video is my opinion or personal life experience. Nothing I say is meant to be medical, legal, or life advice for anyone, anywhere, ever. Clips I use are protected by fair use, so kindly grab a cocktail, a mocktail, or a handful of grapes, and let's do whatever it is we're doing. You know, it's interesting that Chantal knows what feeding a cat actually is, although this isn't much different than how she treated Sam and BBJ, right? Throw some food on the ground. Anyways, this cat is a feral cat, and what a lot of people don't understand is that while some feral cats might be a little bit friendly, some feral cats may be super into people. If it's a true feral cat, that is a wild animal. So what she should be picturing here is like, I don't know, a bobcat maybe, but a mini one, a mountain lion, but a mini one. Um, it's terrified. I don't know why they keep getting super close to it. It's going to bolt at any minute, but it's obviously starving.
So cute. She look at me.
Yeah, she's scared, but like...
No, she feels safe.
Salah, you don't know anything. She does not feel safe. She's scared as fuck.
You are in good hands, cat.
If by good hands you mean Allah's hands, since that's the belief system that you follow, because she's not in Chantal's hands, thank God.
Enjoy your food.
It's okay.
Enjoy your food.
MashaAllah, she eats it all.
Poor thing is starving.
She's too hungry.
So initially when I watched this, I thought that it might be illegal, if not against the rules, to film inside a mosque during prayer. I've done some Googling, and to be fair, my only experience with Islam is through a few friends and Google. So I may not be correct. Please feel free if I say anything wrong or incorrect. Please feel free to correct me. I'm always open to new knowledge. As soon as you start thinking you know everything, you're done. Anyways, so I initially thought that it might be illegal or against the rules to film in a mosque during prayer time, but after doing some research, it's not recommended, but it's not disallowed. Still, the way that he's doing this, it makes it seem sneaky. And I also did read that if you are going to film or take pictures in a mosque during prayer, you should try to avoid including other people practicing their faith, which, why isn't this set up in front of just Salah? He could have done it for this. They could have put up some words, some captions describing what he's saying, what is happening, because presumably this channel is supposed to be like the other channels you see where a couple from different cultures come together and they're sharing each other's cultures with one another. And that's not the vibe I'm getting from this at all. there's no education, there's no info, and it just seems a shame. It really seems a shame. But every time I start thinking that, I have to remember we're talking about Foodie Beauty, and this is a cash and views grab. I also thought it was super interesting because honestly, I never really thought about it, but I guess I kind of assumed or never really wondered. But for example, my mom has had knee replacements in both of her knees, and kneeling onto the ground, just getting down onto the ground, is painful and nigh impossible for her. And I know that there are people with other disabilities, and so I thought surely there's some sort of accommodation, but I didn't really think about it. So it's good to see. I see the gentleman sitting in a chair up there for this portion of the prayer. And I don't know, it's just good to see that there are accommodations for people who need them. Which, of course, means that Chantal has no reason to not be going to the mosque herself and to be praying every day. Okay, especially with the phone sitting here or the camera, whatever, sitting here like this, it just doesn't it feel like he's trying to sneak it, which makes me believe that he knows it's not super awesome for him to be doing this. Like, he knows it's a little bit frowned upon, at least, and he's trying to hide it, which just feels dirty to me. All right, and so we are done with the prayer in the mosque that we have literally no explanation for. We don't know what he was saying. We don't know if this was like a special prayer service for the end of Ramadan and for Eid. We don't know what he was saying. There were no captions. There was no explanation. He didn't explain anything. She didn't explain anything in the editing. So there we go. We watched him pray. We assume he finished the praying. See, those are really cool. Those are super cool. And, you know, she's trying to build this new audience, right? That doesn't know Foodie Beauty, that doesn't know her history and her shenanigans, right? So if you're trying to build a new audience, you kind of have to assume that, like, every video you make is going to be somebody's first time they see you, right? So why don't you throw a caption up? Tell us what those are. Those are really cool. I understand they're the water towers and whatnot, but that's because I have, you know, jumped right into this Goral world universe, right? But what about these alleged new viewers, this new audience that she's constantly courting? You know, lazy, lazy, lazy.
Hi guys, so we're here.
I don't know why she can't bother to find better music. I mean, I wasn't even finished making my very first video for my channel, and I was sick of the default music that was available to me on, you know, the editing software that I'm using or on YouTube. There are plenty of royalty-free sites. I mean, we saw that she stole that free use waterfall video and sound from, you know, a free use website, even though she didn't attribute anything. But I know for a fact that give me like 30 seconds and I can find something that would be a little bit more original, a little less cringe for a soundtrack right here.
We're visiting Salah's mom at the graveyard, and as you can see, it's tradition on Eid to visit deceased relatives, so there was quite a lineup to even get in the cemetery.
Chantal, you know you have trolls. You know that you have built a following of certain people who don't like you and who want to hurt you. You know this. You complain about it, right? Why would you allow any sort of footage to come online that might identify where your alleged husband's mom is buried? Because, I mean, if people are willing to do shitty things like swat one another, then, I mean, I guess I'm glad you're in Kuwait, because any of your beezers that have access to you over there won't, probably won't go do anything terrible. But I mean, maybe I'm paranoid. I don't know. I would not show any identifying landmarks or signs if I were to take y'all to show you my grandparents' graves. I would not. Okay, I wanted to say something about this. I have seen a lot of reactions not really approve of this cemetery, or say that it looks unkempt or dilapidated, but I really think a lot of them are failing to take into account that this is a desert climate. This is an arid climate. As hot as it is, if he were to bring a bunch of flowers to put on his mom's grave, by the time they're in the car, the flowers are going to look like crap. They're going to be dead, and it's just going to look more depressing, right? Also, doing another little bit of research, decorating graves with flowers and ornaments and stuff like that is frowned upon um, in Islam. And so I don't have any complaints with this graveyard, right? A lot of people are complaining about how it looks bad. A lot of people are comparing it to, like, Boot Hill, the graveyard at the OK Corral, which was a famous American shootout. Um, Anyways, I'm not going to hate on this graveyard. If it's a different country, it's a different region, it's a different culture. So while the graveyard that my grandparents are buried in is green and lush and there's a tree over their graves, that's Southern California, that's not Kuwait. That is a either non-denominational burial ground or a Christian burial ground, right? So, I mean, a lot of people are just hating on the aesthetics of this graveyard and the look of the graves looking unkempt. And I just I just want to point out that it's different culture, different country, different traditions. So I personally was not expecting a graveyard in Kuwait to look like a graveyard in Southern California.
Be careful, baby. Don't step on the grave because it's haram. You know, it's showing respect for the dead.
Yes, alright, baby.
Did she just apologize? I think she just said, yes, sorry, baby. Um, who, over the age of, like, I'll be generous and say 10, who needs to be told not to step on a grave? Who? Who? Especially like that. Like, it's very obvious where the graves are. In the cemetery my grandparents are in, they have stopped allowing actual headstones. There are plaques, basically, flush to the ground, so it's easier for them to mow the lawns and maintain. Um, so that can be a little bit difficult to see exactly where the graves are. Strangely enough, I find it easiest for me to walk on the headstones because I know that the body is not under the headstone, right? Um, but the fact that he had to stop and tell her, don't step on the graves, it's haram. Yeah, buddy, of course it's haram. It's pretty much haram in every culture. Like, you don't step on graves. And I get, like, I'm a big girl too. I am. I recognize her waddle. I've done it myself. But if you take a little bit of care and consideration, it doesn't matter how wide I am. I can walk in a single file line like a fucking model on a catwalk, right? You can walk with your feet closer together You can walk so you're not, you know, accidentally stepping on two graves at the same time as you walk. It is possible, trust me.
My mom grave over there. We have to read Surah Al-Fatiha for her. Come here, baby.
Even if the person was not my spouse, even if the person was a vague acquaintance, if somebody was going to take me to see a family or a friend's grave, I would definitely ask what is appropriate if I didn't know them well. I don't know anything about Islam. I know vague basics. You know, I know vaguely what the tenets are. I know that they have to pray 5 times a day. That's about all I know, except for the research I've done because of Chantal. However, how is it that she didn't ask and he took 0 time to tell her what to do? She is looking at him and following him. She's not like a 5-year-old little girl learning how to pray. Like, I would expect this behavior if you had to take your child. This is your grandma's grave. You did not get a chance to meet her. This is how we pray at grandma's grave, right? Everybody has prayers that they learn as a child if they grow up religious. I can recite the first prayer that I learned, rapid fire, which used to piss off my grandparents, but they eventually stopped asking me to give the food blessing. But yeah, if you ever want any interesting stories about growing up Mormon, go ahead and let me know. I'm happy to share. Okay, you know he's actually praying because he knows what to do, but she didn't bother to ask and he didn't bother to tell her. So she's just watching him and following his motions. And in addition to that, you know her mind is blank right now. If anything, her brain is just full of, damn, it's hot. When are we done? I need air conditioning. What are we getting for dinner? Like, I mean, really, like, girl. A lot of people were also crapping on this part of the video, this shot of him kind of fiddling with a few stones, a few little weeds at the side of his mom's grave. And to be honest, I don't hate on it. I can't hate on it. What I'm seeing here is a young man who lost his mother too soon. Whether he grooms the grave, whether he cleans the grave, whether he pulls out all the weeds or replaces all of the rocks on top of it on a daily basis, it does not matter to me. There are times when I have gone to the graveyard and I just, sit there, like literally on my grandma's grave, and I don't talk. Like, I'm not talking out loud to her grave. I see people do that and that's fine, but I talk up here. And I talk like she's there and I talk like she can hear me. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's just sitting there thinking. I don't know. But I have no hate for this shot. I see a young man who lost his mom too early, and real talk, I mean, even just the thought. I'm in my 40s, so clearly my mom is older than me. I know what is eventually coming, but like, just the thought. Okay. Nope. So we're not on that subject anymore. But anyways, I can't hate on this shot. I can't. It just seems sad to me.
So, baby, how old were you about whenever your mother passed away?
Okay, she said a few times that the reason that Salah sounds so like robotic or whatever is because he wants to make sure that he sounds okay, that he is speaking clearly, that he says what he wants to say, etc. But real talk, couldn't you have asked it a little bit nicer? Um, how old were you like whenever your mom died or something? Like,
My mom died 15 years ago. I was like 15 years old.
May she rest in peace, baby.
I mean,
I mean,
okay, again, a lot of people I have seen take issue with this, with him saying that he was 10 or 11 when his mom died. Now it was 15 years ago, and so he was 15. I think what we all need to remember is that English is not this man's first language. And also I don't know all of his history. None of us know all of his history. Um, there's a possibility that he has blocked the circumstances of his mom's death. There's a possibility that, it's just been so long that he doesn't remember. I was in the hospital room holding my grandpa's hand when he died. I don't remember the date of his death. I don't. I do remember it was on the day of my statistics final. It was early that morning. That's what I remember. I would have to look at a calendar of 2017 to figure out what day that was. But, you know, I, like how, again, I need to remind myself that this is Chantal, and she has definitely burned all of her bridges when it comes to uh, giving the benefit of the doubt, and yeah, giving her the benefit of the doubt. But if you've experienced grief, if you've experienced losing somebody that you care very dearly for, then you probably get it. I just I can't comment on how other people show their grief, especially when I don't know the person, especially when I have no idea about their religion, their culture, all of that. Um, it does not seem sus to me that he doesn't remember how old he was when his mom died, or how long ago it was when his mom died. I have to break out my calculator on occasion to figure out how old I am. What's this year minus 1979?
well, it's time to say goodbye for my mom. Goodbye, ma salama.
And I will take very good care of your son forever, inshallah.
Really? Chantal? Really? You couldn't take care of two cats and a Pete's. And now you're going to take care of Salah and apparently the camera's son. Because the woman you're trying to address is like behind you. Even Salah, when he says goodbye, he turns and looks at the grave and says goodbye, you know? She looks at the camera and says goodbye. If only.
So sweet, babe. Okay, guys, thanks for being here.
Masalama.
Assalam.
Okay, for real, I think that he, obviously he likes this angle for eye fucking the camera, but I also kind of think that he's keeping it at this angle so that he can keep an eye on Chantal and make sure that she doesn't, stumble over any more graves.
Be careful of the graves, babe.
Have to be careful of these thorn bushes.
Yeah, be careful, honey.
You know what I also find interesting? I find it interesting that he calls her baby and sweetie and honey. Because, again, this is just my personal experience. Um, when one of my dear guy friends got involved with his girlfriend, now fiance, who is Muslim, um, he called her babe and all that, but uh, I can't remember what the word is, but she called him the, I think maybe Habibi, but um, but she called him her term of endearment because that was her term of endearment that she grew up with. Like that's how, she didn't grow up saying, hearing her mom and dad say, sweetie, baby, honey. Um, and so she used what was familiar to her. I've mentioned a few times before, my baby sister lives in Italy now, and she's married to an Italian, and she calls him amore. I have no accent, but she calls him amore. He calls her the same thing. She'll occasionally say, "Hey, babe," but usually when they're actually speaking to each other, like when they're, she uses amore, because it means more, and she basically just picked it up from him, and then of course living. Hey friends, at this point I started experiencing some technical difficulties with my computer. It is old. I am old. It wasn't encoding properly. It was doing a whole bunch of lagging, so you'll probably notice a few more cuts. It's a work in progress. So yeah, I mean, it just seems strange to me, and maybe like a form of distancing that he doesn't call her any term of endearment in his native culture. Um, it almost feels distancing, like the kind of age old idea or stereotype that sex workers don't like to kiss. Like, sex workers don't like to kiss on the mouth. They'll do anything else. They'll, you know, oral, P and V, all that, but they don't want to kiss on the mouth because that feels too intimate for them, right? So I wonder if not calling her any sort of term of endearment in Arabic, I wonder if that is a form of distancing for him. I really need to start doing this on a better computer. I keep pausing because my encoding needs to keep up. And and the reason that I ditched the one I did on Saturday is because the encoding couldn't keep up and all of this was so stuttery. So I'll try to fix it in editing. Um, be kind. I'm an old, working on an old laptop with janky gear. Okay, so yeah, in the Mormon faith you have to do something similar. Um for my grandpa, uh we had an elder come to supervise, and what was supposed to happen, what my grandma had talked to them about, what was well known within the family because they are Mormon, the men in the family, meaning my uncle, their son, my two cousins, his sons, and then anybody else from the church who could help if they needed more help. They were supposed to go dress my grandpa. That is the appropriate thing that they should have done. It should not have been women, it should have been men. That is what they believe. However, not a one of them could be fucked to do that. Not one. Not none of them. None of them. So, um, it was me, my mom, my grandma, who couldn't really help. She was in a wheelchair at the time. So it was me, my mom, and my grandparents' visiting teachers, and uh, the the elder that was the bishop when my grandpa was on the bishopric, which makes sense if you're Mormon. So yeah, you couldn't tell us what the other building was, but you could definitely tell us that this is where they wash the bodies for burial. Okay, mosques are so pretty. So pretty. Just so pretty. And this is a really great shot, to be fair. Like, I don't want to give her credit for anything that she doesn't deserve, and she doesn't deserve any credit for anything ever. But this is actually a really great shot with the sun behind, kind of lighting it up like it's glowing. It's really pretty. Also, I love this. Look at that lattice work on this. I would call it an overpass, but it's clearly not an overpass. There's nothing it's supporting. It's just like an archway over the road, but man, it's pretty. Just a note, I had to break my video up into 2 parts. I'm actually going to add her Eid mukbang to a couple of her other mukbangs, I think, and make that. I just don't think anybody really wants to listen to me talk about stuff for over an hour, which that video was turning into. Also, I had a few technical difficulties, as I explained. I will try to work on that before I do another react. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and my thoughts on it. If you have any comments, concerns, criticism, or new information, please. I'm always open to being educated. Leave me a comment, give me a little crab emoji, anything for the engagement, like, maybe subscribe, and if you didn't like it, I don't care. Bye.